I found my name on a tombstone, carved by my own son. I never imagined my life could fracture so suddenly. The day I found my name etched into a tombstone, everything changed. My name is Harold, I'm 72 and I've lived in this quiet town all my life. I thought I understood my family, until this happened. The afternoon had been gray and damp, the sky heavy with rain. I had gone to the cemetery to clear my mind, to walk among the familiar stones of neighbors and loved ones. But then I froze. There it was, a freshly carved slab of stone with my name, my birth date, my life inscribed in cold, merciless letters. My pulse raced, my knees weakened. How could this happen? For a moment I imagined it was a mistake. Perhaps someone had intended to carve another name. But the handwriting was meticulous, the letters deliberate. I looked closer and saw the chisel marks, precise, purposeful. And then, almost instinctively, a chilling thought struck me. My son. It could only be him. Who would do this and why? The days before had been odd, though I hadn't realized it. John, my adult son, had been quieter than usual. He lingered in corners of rooms, muttering under his breath, withdrawing from conversation. He'd been spending hours in his workshop, ostensibly building furniture, but I noticed unusual scraps of stone and chisel marks that didn't belong. That afternoon, walking past the cemetery, I saw it again, my name perfectly carved. The cold stone reflected the pale light and my chest tightened. I staggered toward it, trying to make sense of what I saw. Rain dripped onto the carved letters, the drops sliding down like tears. My hands shook. I touched the stone, feeling the deep grooves beneath my fingertips. The air smelled of wet earth and decaying leaves, and the distant wind moaned through the graveyard trees. It felt alive somehow, as though the stones themselves were whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. My mind raced, my thoughts fracturing into panic, disbelief, and fear. Was this a warning, a threat, or something darker? Back at home, I searched John's workshop. Among the wood shavings and tools, I found a hidden notebook tucked beneath a loose floorboard. It was filled with scribbled notes, angry phrases, and disturbing sketches. Each page hinted at deep resentment, a sense of injustice, and secret plans I had never suspected. He had been planning this act for months, maybe years. Reading his words, I realized how much I had missed. The cold stares, the whispered conversations, the days he would vanish without explanation. There were diagrams of gravestones, notes about carving techniques, symbolic messages scrawled across pages in jagged letters. A single phrase made my stomach drop. He doesn't see me. I will be noticed. He will know. The implication was clear. This was not idle mischief. This was deliberate, calculated, and meant to terrify. My son, the boy I raised, was sending a message, one I could barely comprehend. What could drive a child, even an adult, to carve their father's name into stone? That evening, I confronted him in the dim hallway of our home. Shadows stretched across the walls, flickering from the lamp I had lit. "John," I said, my voice trembling, why did you do this?" His eyes darted away, his jaw tight. I wanted you to notice me," he whispered, almost inaudible. My hands shook as I gripped the banister. "Notice you? By carving my name into a tombstone." He lowered his gaze. I needed to be seen. You're always busy." I felt invisible. I wanted to make something you couldn't ignore. Pain lanced through me. Years of parenting, guidance, and discipline all seemed to crumble. "Do you realize what you've done? What you've put me through?" He remained silent, tears pooling in his eyes. The tension in the hallway was suffocating. I realized then that the act wasn't intended to harm me physically, but the emotional weight, the betrayal, cut deeper than I could have imagined. Could a father understand this gesture, twisted as it was, without losing faith in his child? Over the next few days we talked, carefully, slowly. The truth emerged in fragments. John had been influenced by outside voices. Friends who encouraged his resentment, situations I had misunderstood, a world of small manipulations I hadn't seen. The tombstone, terrifying as it appeared, was his symbolic act of rebellion. He didn't want me dead. He wanted to be acknowledged, to be heard, to shake the father he felt had ignored him. He had chosen the ultimate metaphor, death, to make me confront his pain. It was a revelation that reframed everything I had assumed. I had read betrayal, malice, and danger where there was only misdirected pain, frustration, and a desperate desire for connection. Everything I thought I knew about him, and about the fragility of our bond, shifted in an instant. Could I forgive this symbolic act without letting the fear and anger poison our relationship permanently? I retreated to my room, the rain tapping a slow rhythm against the window pane. Memories of raising him, bedtime stories, scraped knees, whispered secrets, collided with the terror of seeing my own name carved into stone. I cried silently, mourning both the fear and the misunderstanding. I blamed myself for not noticing, for not seeing the isolation my son felt, for letting the quiet resentment fester unnoticed. I felt grief, guilt, and love in equal measure. Every chisel mark, every scribbled note, spoke of a child trying to scream in the only way he knew. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside me. I stayed awake long into the night, listening to the rain and reflecting on decades of parenting, the fragile bonds of trust, and the depth of forgiveness needed to navigate such darkness. Could we ever heal, or would this symbolic act linger as a shadow over our family forever? Time passed. Small, careful conversations began to bridge the gap between us. John showed remorse, and I learned to understand the pain behind his actions. The tombstone remained a chilling reminder, but it no longer represented fear. It symbolized a turning point, a conversation we could not avoid. We rebuilt our relationship slowly. Shared meals, quiet walks, and late-night talks began to restore the bond. Shadows lingered, but understanding, patience, and love returned, piece by fragile piece. I placed a family photograph on my desk, a reminder of both innocence and mistake, of childhood laughter and adult regret. Life had shifted irrevocably, but it also offered a chance for healing and growth. Be careful who you trust, even the ones closest to your heart.